put up in the Willie Nelson.
Welcome back to Breakfast Television. There it is, the classic song Bobcaygeon by the Tragically Hip. And yes, Reuben in the Dark doing a cover of that. We'll talk about that in just a bit. But first, yes, he's here, Reuben Bullock of Reuben in the Dark. He has a new album called Arms of a Dream, and he's on tour right now with this album. He's got a stop right here in Calgary coming up in just a bit. But yeah, you've also covered the Bobcaygeon song, so we'll talk about that too. But I do want to talk about Arms of a Dream. Tell us a little bit about what you're exploring with this album.
Well, this one, it took a long time to make. It was 4 years in the making.
Oh,
so
wow.
That, I think, is just because it was really ambitious. We spent a lot of time in the studio, spent a lot of time writing songs, like hundreds of songs.
Really?
By the time it
Hundreds?
came down to the 11th on the album, yeah, hundreds of songs, like writing every day for 4 years. It was really intense, so it feels amazing to have it out. Very proud of it.
Have it finally finished. Well, how do you decide which albums or which songs to put on the album if you've got hundreds?
Yeah, that's
That's tough.
That's a part of what takes so long with it. It was set around a theme, and Arms of a Dream is kind of, I curated it based on the space between maybe dreaming and waking states, where you're just really tried to tap into something that was subconscious, that felt like when I could channel a song and it came right through me without having to be too intentional about it. So setting a title, setting a theme, and then just writing and writing and writing until it kind of like pieced itself together.
Okay.
But yeah.
So what are you looking for when you're putting an album together? Do you follow sort of a narrative arc, or is it just sort of random?
No, there's definitely a narrative to it, and a big part of it too on this time around was we played a lot of really big festivals and big theaters and stages where I started really thinking about how I wanted to connect with the audience, what kind of show I wanted it to be live, and what we kind of needed on the album to be able to do that.
Right.
So the big anthemic songs for those kind of venues, and also keeping it so we have these intimate tunes that we can play in theater settings. So yeah, I was thinking definitely about the big picture with this one.
Okay, interesting. Yeah. Do you like to work that way? Do you like to channel that sort of spirit and keep writing and writing and writing, or do you sort of like to take breaks here and there?
Yeah, this was an experiment. You know, I hadn't done anything like it before. It's the hardest I've ever worked.
Wow. For
sure. Like before this, it was if I wrote 10 songs, I would record 10 songs and just keep moving. This was the first time I kind of held everything back. And I'm learning from that process. Probably to not do it again, but the attempt was that I wanted the record to feel like it held the weight of all the songs that didn't end up on it.
Okay.
So for every one song, there's kind of 10 behind it that didn't make the cut,
right.
And hoping that kind of gave it some power.
Nice.
Yeah.
Ooh, this sounds exciting. This sounds exciting and different for you, which is great.
Yeah, yeah.
Which is great. Tell us a little bit about now this Bobcaygeon song. So you recorded, this is a classic Canadian song, right? Everybody knows this song who's in Canada and knows the Tragically Hip. So why did you want to do a cover of it?
Well, first, we seldom play cover songs. Almost never, unless someone has really asked us to or it's a special event. Like, we don't have cover songs in our sets.
Right.
But we did an Ontario tour, and we're kind of new to the audience out there, and I wanted to do something that felt like a gift, I suppose. Like, not assuming that everyone coming to our show is already familiar with the band. Like, how do you make a connection? How do you interact? And kind of say, like, how do you find common ground with people you're just meeting? And,
right.
And playing a hip song was the first thing that came to mind, because Ontario, I mean, Canada is crazy about that music.
Sure, but
Ontario especially.
Yes.
So sitting down with that song, I think I played it for maybe 30 seconds, and it kind of just gave me goosebumps.
Yeah, of course.
And that's what I do with my own music. Like, that's kind of how I write a song, is if something really kind of shakes me up, I know I need to keep going with it. So I threw it on the band, I think the day before our tour.
Oh, really?
Like, learn this song quick, we're going to do it. And everyone was like, oh, we haven't practiced it. But we ended up putting it together super last minute and played it, and it had quite an impact on people. People were like really emotionally affected by it.
Oh, wow.
And so that we got a lot of pressure from those people to record it, like a lot of messages after the tour.
Really?
So we kind of jumped in. We recorded it at my house in just outside Toronto in Ontario, on a day off in between the tour, and just worked on getting it out immediately. And one thing about it, and we did, yeah. We managed to turn it around. And it didn't feel right about taking any money from it, just because it started as this gift, and it was like we want to share. So Gord Downey, before he passed, had had been working on and set up a fund called the Downey Wenjack Fund,
Right.
working with his family and the Chaney Wenjack family, telling a story about residential schools and
Yes.
working towards reconciliation. So their whole organization is bridging gaps between Indigenous and non-Indigenous Canadians.
And that's why you wanted to record this album, to support that fund. So
Yeah,
I have to leave
yeah.
it there. We're out of time. But
Okay.
thank you so much, and good luck with this tour. And we'll
Yeah,
see you here in
thanks for
Calgary at
having
the
me.
Jack Singer on October 30th. Thank you so much for
Looking
being here,
forward to it.
Reuben.
Yeah, thank
We're going to
you.
go for a break. When we come back, we've got news, weather, and traffic. Stay with us.